Let's talk a little bit about the latest news just in advance of tonight's debate in the Democratic primary field, because Cory Booker has ended his presidential campaign. He's the latest since Marianne Williamson to drop out. Cory Booker's campaign never really got going, polling 1.8% as of yesterday. He did get all the way up to nearly 6% back in February. That's almost a year ago. Basically just downhill from there with the occasional spike to 3%. The Democratic senator from New Jersey put out a statement where he said, quote, "It was a difficult decision to make, but I got in this race to win. And I've always said I wouldn't continue if there was no longer a path to victory. Our campaign has reached the point where we need more money to scale up and continue building a campaign that can win. Money we don't have, and money that is harder to raise because I won't be on the next debate stage, and because the urgent business of impeachment will rightly be keeping me in Washington." So as Cory Booker points out, he did not qualify for tonight's debate, and he's decided it's time to call it quits. And he's right. I mean, that there's the analysis here does not need to go too far beyond that. Looking at the polls more generally, the next people who should drop are Tom Steyer at 2.2%, Tulsi Gabbard at 2.3%, Amy Klobuchar at 2.8%. Certainly at this point in time, if you are below 3, you should be out. Remember, you need 15% in primaries to get any delegates. And then, Andrew Yang at 3.5%, maybe he can justify staying in a little longer to see if he gets any delegates out of Iowa. Michael Bloomberg at 5.8% can justify it. If the DNC changes the rules for qualifying for debates and he gets into debates, he can certainly justify it. I saw some people posting on Facebook that Cory Booker didn't win because of racism, without denying that we are still dealing with racism in this country. Cory Booker was not particularly progressive. He was not particularly good at debating. He was not particularly inspiring in terms of policy. So to say that were it not for Booker being black, he'd be the nominee seems very flimsy. Booker's ideas weren't that great. He wasn't that great at expressing them in a way that inspired support. So his campaign went nowhere. I actually think it's a good thing that Democrats who can't win the nomination are starting to exit. We want diversity of opinion. We want different people with different ideas. But when you look back at that 2016 Republican primary, there were some people who stuck out the 2016 Republican primary way too long. From day one, we basically suspected that this would be a Biden-Bernie Warren race. And it is. Pete Buttigieg is trying to stay in, but he's not really making any progress in the last 6 weeks. This is what it seemed like it would be at the start, and it's what it is. Now, is that a self-fulfilling prophecy to some degree? What I mean by that is, did the fact that so many people believed it would come down to Biden, Bernie, Warren make it so at the exclusion of other candidates? It's a possibility. But again, there's a reason many people believe that. In a lot of the comments about Cory Booker dropping out, I saw comments like, Andrew Yang is the only person who can actually beat Trump, or Tulsi Gabbard is the only person who can actually beat Trump. I hope that those folks eventually come around to whoever is the eventual nominee and help us defeat Donald Trump. We saw in 2016 what losing by small margins in a few states leads to. It leads to 4 years or maybe even 8 years of Donald Trump, 4 years or maybe even 8 years of the United States as the laughingstock of the world, and a malignantly narcissistic president who can't be trusted to tell the truth about anything, while installing radical judges all over the place who will rain hell on the judiciary for decades to come. So no matter what you think now, when I see a comment like only Yang or Tulsi can win, or even only Biden or Bernie can win, I hope everybody will come around and help defeat Donald Trump when we get to November, because otherwise we're in big trouble. We'll have continuing coverage of this on the David Pakman Show Instagram page, at David Pakman Show. Follow the Instagram page. Follow me on Instagram at david.pakman as well.